Hey, what's up YouTube, Skybadger here, and we are back at the end of day 10. If we have a quick look in the game info, we can see there's only 1 hour and 1 minute until day change. So, based on where we were yesterday, you can see that we're steady and we're holding around 8th. Now, I don't expect that to rise at all. In fact, it's not going to rise. It might, actually it will, a couple of points, but our place won't. We have caught a few small territories, just mopping up what was left of Belgian Congo, Angola, and Equatorial Gabon, but that won't be enough to propel us to any greater heights. So the stat was largest economy, and as we can see, we're roughly where we should be. As the 8th biggest player in the game, we'd expect to have the 8th biggest economy, but we are 7th, which is good. It's also interesting to see that places that aren't necessarily doing too well also has some pretty outstanding economies as well, but generally it is the larger players that have the bigger economy. It makes sense. More land, more resources, larger economy. So we are trying to boost it and trying to get our economy moving forwards, and it's been a relatively slow process. We have been working on developing newer technologies in the research while also trying to build up our Air Force and Navy, and that's put a lot of strain on our economy to cope with 3 different objectives. And I've also dropped working on my army for the time being. It's small, but with a big enough Air Force, you can make up for that. So if we send this off to the other aircraft, we can see that we now have 9 interceptors, 7 tactical bombers, and that is half, basically, of what I need. Slightly more than half, yeah. So halfway through our Air Force at this point, and our Navy, our seawall is just about done. And what this means is that once this is done, we can begin to move on and actually start building destroyers, cruisers, battleships, aircraft carriers, all the good fun stuff that I like to play with. So that's what we're doing at the moment. Obviously though, we have to research those first. Over the past few days I have researched level 2 destroyer purely because I've had nothing else to research. When I do have the rare material and these are done, I am going to start upgrading my cruisers, or start actually getting cruisers, so I can actually make them, and then move on to battleships. So I managed to pick up some rare pretty cheap on the market, and that has pushed us forwards quite a bit. We got quite a bit of money from catching Belgian Congo's capital, and we spent a lot of that money on buying resources to top up. I also bought some oil while it was cheap, because you guys know oil never lasts, so we got a pretty large supply of that. So at the moment, in terms of what's happening in the game, in terms of relationships around here in Africa, it's, yeah, me and South Africa are just spending some time, like I said, mopping up where Angola, Belgian Congo, and Equatorial Gabon used to be. You can see based on the morale map what we've cleared in the past few days, well, past day. So now that that's done and we have cleared out all of those remnant factions, we still need to clear out these troops, but once that's done, we're free to focus again and move forwards. So moving forwards, our target at this point, open to change, is Upper Volta. Now, we have been kind of delaying a bit, messing around, talking a lot with him, just to get his attention elsewhere. He is at the moment moving up, and I think he's going to take some land in Turkey from what South Africa has told me. South Africa is on a shared map basis, and I'm not, purely just keep my intentions out in the open so we can keep discussing and stalling. And if I was to be on a shared map basis, then he'd see gathering troops and that sort of stuff. So by not sharing maps with him, I do increase the tension a bit, but it also will drag out our conversation and hopefully buy us a bit more time. So our intel also suggests that he does have a few troops in his core region just on defense, a few anti-tank and light tanks. And from what South Africa was saying, it does appear as if he is moving to take out this last AI country here. Actually, I wonder if that is one of the last major AI countries. It could actually be. Gonna be sad to see it go. So, with that said, sooner or later, when South Africa and I are ready, we are going to push across this border and wipe them out. We have, from the intel we have gathered, we understand that South Africa alone has a large enough army to deal with Upper Volta, but South Africa's Air Force is not at the point he'd like it to be. Luckily though, I can pick that up and lend him some aircraft if need be, but overall we outnumber Upper Volta 2-1. What will really make the difference is depending on what his allies do. As we can see here, yesterday in our spying, we got a reveal all on Italy, so we know exactly what Italy has and where. As you can see, he only has 1 militia in the region, which is worthless, and that's leaving, so even more worthless. He's also sending 2 destroyers down, which I'm not too worried about. 2 destroyers can't beat 16 subs, and I'm not even producing any units over here anymore, so he can't intercept any convoys. I'm just building ships and aircraft from here. On that note, can I afford another tactical bomber? No, they'll have to wait. So those destroyers are pretty pointless at this point. I don't know why he'd send them down. They'd be better off down there, but it would be interesting to see what intel we get at day change, see if he's sending any more down. So Italy is pretty busy up here fighting the Russians, and they appear to be winning. Germany and Italy are putting on a stern fight, and they appear to be pushing them back slowly. Although Germany has taken a lot of casualties and lost a lot of land, so have the Russian allies. As you can see, they too have resorted to using militia. You know you're in trouble when you're using militia. With Italy busy, there's only one other person that can really help in a major way if we attack Upper Volta, and that is this guy here, whose name I'm never going to try to pronounce, or the country name I'm never going to try to pronounce, so I'm just going to butcher it. So this guy, he's fighting Spain, and it's an interesting battle. As we can see, he has been moving around the country, capturing territory, just kind of like a raid technique, while Spain captures it back. France has got a little bit of territory in the region. I think that may have rebelled and joined France. I'm not sure, because these guys are allies, but I don't suspect that France is attacking Spain. Not while Spain controls a lot of France. On that note, France is still in the game somehow. I didn't expect him to last this long, and he is rebuilding slowly by the looks of it, although he really needs to get his rear production back if he really wants to stand a chance. Oh no, he got that back, at rebuilding properly. So yeah, if we do attack Upper Volta, it's going to be a long, drawn-out conflict. I'll probably find myself operating more up here, while our ally, South Africa, will find himself operating more in the western area. This is due to the fact that he is quite a lot stronger on the ground than me. I might have the aircraft, but he has the tanks. Like if we just do a quick double click, we can see I have 6 tanks in the region, while our ally has 13, more than double us. So he is more prepared to fight that battle when it comes. So I'll probably find myself mopping up around here. Now, there is the problem of Italy, where Italy is in our territory, and I don't like Italy being there, but at the same time, if I push right up into here and engage him straight away, I'm never going to make it across the channel, or rather over the Mediterranean Sea, so I have to be careful about how I act there. So another element to take into consideration when we do attack Upper Volta is he sent a lot of troops across to Turkey. So what we will do is we will send some submarines up just to make sure those troops don't make it back. I'm not too worried about losing subs at this point, not too big of a deal, but that is what I want to do. Send up some subs, disrupt his ability to send troops back, and then this area down here should be relatively unprotected. There are a few industrial complexes down here that are really important to capture, but once we get behind those, he has no way, especially if we cut troops off from up here, of getting anything across. It'll just be mopping things up. The only other thing we need to consider is it's going to be a massive mess in terms of morale. What we are going to find is we're going to march up here at an incredibly high pace, and we're going to find all our provinces rebelling. That's not too big of an issue at this point. Like I said, we won't meet much resistance, so we do have the time to mop it up. But it is not going to be pretty, guys. Trust me, when we get to that, it's not going to be nice at all. And that's why, for the time being, we are pretty happy that our morale is generally rising, and it will be pretty high. So, in terms of what's happening in the rest of the world, we can see that Persia, over literally the last day, was ganged up on by Pakistan and Iraq, and he just got squished out of the game completely. Now, that is sad that it happened so fast, but that's just the game. So, Syria and Iraq control a lot of territory as well, but from what I understand, they're about to get in a whole heap of trouble with the Asians and also with Upper Volta. And, yeah, there's not much more to say about the Middle East other than that. Obviously, up in Europe, we can say the same thing. United Kingdom, as I'm sure I've already mentioned, is allied with these guys and is no longer fighting Germany. And Spain is still fighting this guy down here, who I'm still not going to try to pronounce because I'm going to absolutely butcher it. But the main interest up here is just this war that's happening here. As you can see, the morale is incredibly low. And it's just going to be like this for a long time, which is good for us because these sort of fights are what we need. We need these sort of fights to drag out in Europe so that when we come in, there's a whole heap of divided factions that will not unite when we enter. So, with that being said, for the time being, it's perfect that these guys are fighting, and we need them to keep it up. Good work, guys. You're making my job a lot easier later on in the game, if I get past Oppervolta. So, in Asia, there isn't actually all that much happening. They just wiped out this player right here, and someone managed to get a territory here, which I'm not sure how he managed. It does appear, though, as if Lord Kek is moving in to take it out, because that is a mess, and that's going to lower the morale of everything around it. So, not much happening. The Australasian countries are fighting Asia at the moment, and they appear to be losing. So, while I'm not too sure on what is happening, because I don't have a map with any of them, and I don't want to, it does appear that things are not going their way. New Zealand appears to be holding its own, but Queensland and the Australians seem to have taken a lot of casualties and a lot of losses. New Zealand's also been doing a lot of island hopping. If we have a look, I could have sworn he had done some island hopping up here, and has captured reasonable amount of islands and is putting them to use. In South America, things have gotten messy again. We can see that if we come over to here, North Brazil barely exists, and he has, with the help of Oppervolta, going to try to re-establish himself over here, I'm pretty sure. Although he's going to need a lot of luck like that, and he's going to need to build a capital if he wants to stand any chance of actually doing that. So, with that said, this region now becomes more of a threat. As we can see, there's no longer 5 players, there's only 4, one, two, three, 4 players remaining in the region. And that is a problem. So, as they become more united and there's less conflict going on, they're going to look to expand. Now, for my sake, I hope they look upwards to North America. That would be the logical choice, seeing it's closer, easier to invade, you don't need the navy. But they may look just across here, which isn't a problem for me at that point because they're going into the land. But it does mean that if they move across instead of up, then we can't move into Europe next, and instead we have to come this way. So it is a bit of a mess, and I don't like the situation as is, but we just have to wait and see what they decide to do. In North America, there's still a lot of fighting going on, and as we can see from the morale map, there's been a lot of rapid expansion, especially from Quebec. Quebec has expanded quickly and outwardly, and as we can see based on the morale and how poor it is, we can see how fast it has been done. He maybe needs to just slow it down a little, although when we make our move in Africa, it's going to look pretty similar. New England has also done quite a bit of expansion, but not much over recent days. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. There are still quite a few factions in the region, so it'll be interesting to see how things play out. What we could find is a North America versus South America battle, which is good for us again because then they're not coming over to say hi to us. So we've been around the world and we're talking about what's happening, so I'm going to call the episode here. Like I said, going forwards, it's very likely, pretty soon, we'll be moving up north. I'm not sure what we're going to do about Ethiopia down here, but we'll think about something when it comes to it. As far as we're concerned, he's not been aggressive and he's not attacking us, and we've done our fair share to help him, so I expect that he might stay neutral in the future. So that's all for today, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.